But that's just entrepreneurship, like the only thing that is true or real or constant is like the amount of stuff that can go wrong at the same time is crazy. So you just gotta be resilient and just honestly stay afloat. And that's what we have been doing. Every year there's a couple of challenges.
And welcome back. We have Moises Jimenez joining from Boulder, Colorado, one of the Boulder Boys. Moi, thanks so much for taking some time to chat.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I think we tried 3 times. Then I guess you were sick, then I was sick, and then it was Christmas, and then it was post-Christmas. So finally, we're getting started the year with the right foot. So that's good.
We're doing it. The first question of this podcast is always a challenging one. And that question is, who is Moi?
I consider myself, it's funny, it's actually evolving and it has evolved a lot in 2025. I always consider myself just a very active person that likes to get tired physically and mentally. So challenge myself to exercise, running or riding, skiing when possible, but that's like probably 1% of my routine. And then I also really like to challenge myself, like solving problems. That's kind of like the whole life or like day to day of what we do at Vert is just solving problems. So those are the two things that I really enjoy. But I became a father 6 months ago, which is pretty exciting. And I think that is also switching and changing who I am. So I will say that I am on a period of rediscovering that.
Cool. I love it. This question is always a fun one because it kind of tells people get to tell what they care most about versus like, I'm a runner, I own a business, and I'm a dad. And it's like, I love when people have that rich answer, dive into how they're evolving and whatnot. We're going to talk about many of those different hats that you're wearing on a daily basis. This is the Long Run Labs podcast. We're going to dive into the business of the outdoor industry. We're going to talk about Vert Run. We're going to talk about you as a runner, how those worlds connect. You and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago at this point where we were talking about the intersection of endurance and entrepreneurship and how building fitness and building a business have so many parallels. And so definitely want to get into a conversation about that and how you've reflected on that over the years as well. But I'm curious how running found you, or how did you find running to kick things off?
Yeah, that's a good one. So I was born in Venezuela, and then we moved to the Patagonian region in Chile when I was 8 years old. So I grew up there, and I always had this curiosity of, as a child, I remember looking at the mountains, winter or summer, and I always have this like game or curiosity of thinking like what's in the other side of it. That was always very intriguing. Like I will just create towns or cities or things. I would just imagine things on the other side, and I have that clear memory of always thinking like, oh, what's on the other side? How is the view from up there? And then I play all kind of sports, and I was bad at it. I just was able to endure the whole thing. So like I played basketball, and I was on the team in high school, but I wasn't on the team because I was good. I was on the team because I was the one who could run the whole match. When I started university, I needed some sort of outlet to balance things. I had this like challenging part of my life that was studying a lot of math and physics, and I needed something that would help me breathe. And that's when I just started to run. And I guess one day I would just jog, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes in my first year of college. And then one day I saw, it must be like a video or something of like somebody running on a trail and getting to a summit. And that was like clicked right away. And I was like, okay, this is a combination of something that has been really intriguing for me, which is, going up mountains and running, which I'm actually really liking. And I grabbed a bottle and I went to the closest hill and I tried to run it. I didn't make it to the top. I like stopped halfway and I was like, okay, next weekend I'm going to try again. And I made it like 3/4. And then the next weekend I did it. And that it just became my life, basically. From there, I would just go and try to run, power hike up, and then like run, jog down, and fell in love with it.
What did that feel like? Was there some sort of freedom that it unlocked? Was a sense of challenge or purpose, or just exploration?
I think all of those, and also a lot of fulfillment. It's such a rich feeling. Now it's like it's a little bit, I wouldn't say sad, but it's different because I'm just so used to doing it that I don't feel like, to feel fulfilled, I need to do something big. But at that point, just getting to the top and then running back home was like, what an achievement. And then I would see it, which is a feeling that I still have, but like I will see that mountain. I was like, wow, I was there in the morning, and now I'm super hungry and I am really enjoying my lunch. It's like, it's just, I don't know, like very
The
simple.
perspective is different. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The perspective, very simple and tangible result from just doing it. And of course, I really got into just like, let's try to find a race and like that sort of things. But not to like be a competitor, but just to explore new places, I would say at that time.
And when did the competition enter the picture? For background, for those listening, Moy is a sponsored trail and ultra runner, so he's pretty good at it too. In addition to building a business in the space, so where did the competitiveness come from, and at what point did you realize you were pretty good at it?
Well, I appreciate those words. Let's think. This was 2011, so a while ago when I was like 20 years old. I guess in 2012. I remember I did a race back then. Like it was so funny. It was so nice because I did this race. It was just an uphill race, not a VK, but just uphill. And I was halfway through the route, and I see the first person arriving to the top, and I was like, "Wow, how this guy is so fast. Like how this person got to the top and friggin', I'm not even halfway. It was crazy. It blew my mind. And I just kept doing it. Honestly, like I didn't have any sort of training structure. And I just kept doing it. I did my first 50K in 2012. It took me like, I don't know, 8 hours or something. But I was having a blast. And then I started to hang out with this guy called Max. We met each other in like my first 50K actually, and we started to like run and do like adventures together. And then we were like the youngest one practicing this sport in Chile at the time. And we started to get a little bit ambitious, I will say. I started to have like bigger adventures, doing like cooler routes. This is when Instagram is also like getting like super popular. So like, you're posting pictures and people is liking it, and we started to become part of the community. I think in 2014 is when like I started to see that I could perform at these races in the Chilean and Argentinian landscape at the time, which was competitive, but nothing crazy. But I started to get interested in like, oh, how fast can I run? I didn't have any training structure. I would just run. And in 2015, that's when things really changed because I went to study in France for one semester. But that was the excuse. What I really wanted to do was to run a couple of European races. And I wanted to see how far I was or we were in Latin America from the Euros. And at that time, you probably remember there was the Ultra Trail World Tour, which was super popular. It's kind of like the current UTMB World Series, but less races and more competitive races. So I did a couple of races here and there, and then I signed up for this race called Lavaredo, which is in Italy. And I started like at the back of the back. I was like I was camping, and literally I took my tent down the night of the race, which started at 11 p.m. So I didn't have to pay an extra night of camping. Like I was like student, like really scrappy, dude. And I did the race. I had great memories, and I finished top 10. And I was like, oh, okay. And I got into like the top 10 podium and the whole thing. And that is when I was kind of understanding that I should give it like a little bit of more of an effort to this sport, and I like try to just compete. And I started to work with a coach and started to learn and study, and then yeah, started to compete more seriously. I will say.
And then when did the sponsored athlete component come into play? Like, how did you make that happen?
It's like it has been an evolution. I think at that time I had like some sort of gear from the North Face. I have always run by the North Face, by the North Face Chile, and I had like some gear. And then I came back, and the North Face had this race in Chile, which was the Endurance Challenge, which we also had one in California and part of the series.
Best series ever.
I mean, it was so good. It was really good, honestly. That was my first 50K in 2012. It was like the 50K on the challenge. And when I came back that year, I did the 50 miles in Chile, which was a pretty good. It was probably at the time it was the most competitive race in Latin America for sure, and never a local like a Chilean will say
Was it
have
like Tim Olson going down there and winning it?
Tim Olson, Rob Crowder have gone
Yep.
down. Like
Yep.
they will always bring, Mike Food. Like they will always bring the TNF will always bring their athletes at the time. And in 2015, I like did it, and I became like the first local on winning the 50 miler, which was a competitive races, the competitive distance or the most competitive distance. And that was also like okay, like I went to Europe, I had decent results, I came to Chile, I like won the thing, and that's when my partnership with North Face became more serious. There's like a little bit of money involved. And then since then it has been evolving on a yearly basis. I continue with them. And it's pretty good because I get to go back to Chile. I get some scenes covered. I mean, I don't have a deal that I can live out of it, but it's a very nice help for like all of my running expenses.
So I ask this for those listening that are pro athletes or aspiring pro athletes. How have you been able to evolve that and grow that relationship over time? You mentioned initially it was just gear, and now while it's not enough to live off of, it's improved to a nice amount that allows you to travel the world and pay for race entries and that kind of stuff. Have you done anything intentionally to help that evolve and grow over time?
I think it has to be intentional. And I think there are different paths to approach a sponsorship or partnership with brands. In my case, this is something that has really helped me basically pay for all my running life and like travel a bunch, which is great, but it has been very intentional. So, what are things that help develop those relationships? Performance in races for sure. So I'm on a stage in life where like I really care about performing and like winning races and doing well. In my personal case, it wasn't quote unquote enough to just perform in Chile. I really wanted to go out and try to run against the best in the world. And like even though I normally get my butt kicked, I'm like learning and improving and like so I'm trying to perform at a global scale. So that's one thing. And then communication, just try to, talk about the brand and like be an ambassador of the brand and be just present in actions that they request you to be or to do. And also like, and that like you gotta always keep it super honest. And then like for the North Face specifically, and I think that it's not the same for all brands, but for the North Face, something that is important or it has been important is try to be creative on the challenges that you take on. So doing FKTs or doing things that are a little bit outside just running a race. And I think that is something that brings like a lot of interest for the brand, for the team and the brand, and also for the community that follows the brand. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily the same for all brands, but for the North Face, like if you pick a mountain range and you try to do a cool FKT on it with great content, it's something that is going to inspire the community that follow the brands, and also it keeps you validating yourself with the brand.
So you mentioned communication and community a couple of times in there. I definitely also want to talk about Vert Run, but it'd be amiss to not discuss Boulder Boys podcast. Where did that idea come from, and how much of that is like you guys want to continue to connect with the community and be fun and do fun things versus like this is a very valuable asset, for lack of a better word, for all of your brand partners because you're connecting with the community, which doesn't, you're not selling more shoes because you're doing the podcast. You're selling more shoes because you're connecting on a deeper level with people. And when you post on Instagram or whatever, like they maybe feel more connected to you, or they like supporting brands that support good people. And there's like a higher trust relationship. How much of that was just something you guys did because you wanted to do it? And how much of it was like a consideration from more of the business perspective and the optics of it?
That's a great question. So it is true that it does expose the human aspect of the athlete on a deeper level, and you get to know the person, the human behind the dude that is just running trails or like doing races. So for those who don't know, like the Boulder Boys, we're like five very good friends that run together and train together. And like I guess maybe 2 years ago, this is season 3. Yeah, so 2 years ago we started a podcast, and the genesis of this is us just running At the time, we were running every Tuesday and every Thursday, and we will do Lions Layer at night. So like during the winter, we would just do it like every Tuesday and Thursday evening, and we'll just like talk for an hour and a half about a lot of stuff, about like contracts, about other athletes, about races, about calendar, about so many things, and we will get spicy. We will have like different opinions. We will. So it was like very entertaining. And Seth always had this thought of like, hey, we should like maybe do like a podcast, and bring these conversations to life on that. So I think the idea originally had two main reasons or two main whys. Like, why are we gonna do this? One is to have these conversations and just share them, put them out there. And the second is just having the perfect excuse to get together with your friends once a week, and like, so sometimes we run before, sometimes we don't, but like we get together, we like get Audrey James pizza and sit down, eat pizza, talk a little bit about what are we going to be chatting and like update ourselves in live and stuff. And then we sit down and start recording. And it's just a continuation of our conversation, basically.
I think there's so much. I want to highlight the fact that you're doing it for yourselves. And I think that when you're creating something for yourself, the quality is not the quality, but like the why is strong, and a lot of people will love it for the right reasons, right? You're not doing it to monetize. You're not doing it to build a business. You're doing it because you enjoy it and it's fun. And if people listen to it, great.
Yeah, I agree. That's the goal, and that's the why. And also, in a very selfish way, I have talked to North Face Chile about this, and they do not care because it's a podcast in English in the US. And they're
Right.
like,
Yeah.
they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
They literally have told me, yes, we do not care about that. The other things, yes, but like you can like not even don't even mention it. Like,
But
say,
that's probably a geographical piece, right? I'm sure like
yeah,
North Face, North America is benefiting from you doing it in some capacity. And Nike and Kraft and, the other
yeah,
brands that are
yeah.
represented on the show.
No, totally. So this is just me on a selfish way. So
Right.
like if I were to just talk about me, it's not something that is necessarily for my current deal or current sponsor. It's like it
Sure.
doesn't necessarily move the needle. Maybe for a future one, like if I were to change, because I do want to migrate to either Northwest US deal or another brand in the US, just because deals are better here. And I think I'm like super transparent on that. So in that sense, not necessarily much impact, but then and then about monetizing it is funny. We have talked with you about it. It is hard to monetize just because we all have full times and kids and families. So like it is a job to monetize the pod. So right now, we have had sponsored and it has been great because basically all the money that we have made is to pay the pizza that we eat and then like to help with some of the gear drops that we have made, like upfront the cost of the teachers for the year of the boy and that sort of things. But that's it, So in that sense, it's pretty honest and it's pretty cool because we are not necessarily trying to build a business out of it. Doesn't mean that maybe it become one, right? But I don't think that we should close ourselves to that not happening. But that is not the end goal.
Makes sense. What's been the most fun from a creative or just overall fun perspective with putting together that podcast?
The trips and the videos. Like the trip last year to Black Canyon with Seth, that was peak running life. Just like being part of that day, Seth winning the thing, and then like us, like like creating a cool video with Dylan. But like we get to live in this house for like 3, 4, 5 days, and we get to hang out, doing the same at canyons last year. Like the trips are like a highlight, and we have a lot of fun doing that. And then just getting to race each other is always cool. It's always excited. We have a lot of fun doing that because we like build up the spiciness between each other. We like give a lot of crap to each other. That is certainly one of the most rewarding things. And then just see the videos come to fruition thanks to the work of Dylan, which is Dylan Forsey, who we have worked with in the video part of things. Great friend and great friend of Seth actually. So that's pretty cool. And then the other thing I will say is just seeing people wearing the gear, wearing a Year of the Boy t-shirt. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's always fun to see that kind of stuff and hear from listeners and, run by someone that's listening to the podcast or, something like that, where it's brings it into the real world.
That I don't think that have happened, at least not that I know, but
It'll
hopefully one day.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
happened
would
a
be
couple
cool.
of times for me with For the Long Run, and the first few
Wow,
times it was just like, whoa, I'm literally in your ear right now, and we're talking also. It
that's
was
yeah,
pretty crazy. I
that's
was on a
awesome.
run with Jason Fitzgerald once, and somebody stopped us to say, "I'm listening to your podcast, and yours is on next." It was wild. I was like, "Oh, are you stalking
Wow.
us? Are you stalking us too?"
I mean, maybe, but that's so cool. I'm probably for the person, it's kind of like, wow, like I have you
Yeah,
here, and then like this is the same voice, so
yeah,
it must be interesting. We run into a bunch of people that like just love well, like the pod and the
yeah.
community, and in races too, and that's pretty cool. It's actually super exciting and it's motivating because we get to see at the end of the day, like you're just recording, you're having a conversation, and
Right,
that's fun.
exactly.
But like that you don't know the impact that you're having. And it's fun. It's fun. Like we know that we have listeners of all ages, like older and younger, and that's pretty cool.
And it's one of the larger podcasts in trail. I mean, I know a lot of the numbers of the shows, and it's definitely one of the bigger ones. So that's cool too.
All organic, which is
Yeah,
the best part. It's I mean, it grows. It's funny. Like it just grows organically every year, and every major event, race result, trip, video, gear drop helps the growth. We are not necessarily tracking all of it, but we're having a blast.
yeah.
So
It's all that
yeah,
matters.
maybe, yeah, and just keeping it real, and yeah, I think it's also space to be spicy. The last episode we record yesterday, oh, it's a good one, and it's like you're gonna listen some real opinions about certain topics, and it's pretty cool.
I love it. Let's talk about Vert Run. So you're not just a runner and a podcast host, but you're also building a business, which is why we're having this conversation. And there's a very long lead up to the conversation about the building a business in the outdoor industry. So what is Vert Run? Where did the idea come from?
Vert Run, it's a coaching app fully focused in trail running. So we offer AI based or real human based coaching for trail runners of all levels. We started in 2019, actually, so a while ago, and it has been a constant evolution, a constant challenge since then, and a pretty rewarding experience too. This is what I always say. So, Vert and I mean, being an entrepreneur and building your business and being an athlete are kind of the same thing because you know how much you put in, you know how much you're gonna train, you know how many hours you're gonna work, and you know how much energy you are putting into each of those things, but you have no idea what's gonna come out the other side. I have no idea what Vert is gonna become, and I have no idea what races I'm gonna win. I'm just doing my best and putting everything I can into both things and then hoping for the best at the other end. But it's pretty cool. So yeah, it's coaching. I'm fully focused into running. We have had some cool milestone. We were the UTMB World Series coaching partner for a couple of years. We have developed training plans with great athletes in collaboration with great athletes where like we will work with the athletes to design a plan and then like have that on the platform and like athletes like like Ruth Croft, Tom Evans, Ryan Sands, Lucy Bartholomew, many others. Francesco. Well, Francesco is part of the original team of Vert. That's what we do. And since halfway of last year, we released AI coaching. So now we have AI coaching and we have real human coaching. And the mission have always been to just make trail running accessible to everybody, everywhere. So the goal is to offer really affordable one-on-one coaching or now really affordable AI-based coach.
How did you decide that you wanted to start a company?
I think I'm unemployable. I don't know. Maybe there is some truth in that. So I'm an engineer at the base, and I love solving problems, and I love thinking, and I love being challenged. And then Max, this guy that I met on my first 50K, and my wife, Kirsten, were like in a project doing some like film and like FKT in Patagonia, like deep in the mountains. And we came with the idea that we wanted to start a business together. So Kirsten is a photographer. Max is like a business guy. I'm like an engineer. And we knew we wanted to start something and then ideally something in trail running, which is something that we're really passionate about. And trail running, I don't know, I would like to hear your thoughts on this, but like innovation and trail running, they don't really like happen together. Like it's like I feel that our sport has been historically so removed from innovation that like the ITRA, which is a great platform, International Training Association, they finally redid the UX and UI like a couple of years ago, but it has been kind of like always not so good. Ultra Sign Up is great, but like the Ultra Sign Up platform, like searching or raising Ultra Sign Up is like really hard. It's a sport that like the technology normally goes into shoes or backpacks, but not necessarily like to digital innovation, and that's something that we wanted to change. So yeah, we just decided to start a business, and we started very, very scrappy in 2019. It was an email list. I mean, we knew that we wanted to do something with coaching because I was coaching people, and I was like, I think that it has to be a way to make this a scalable business and not just like I can coach 50 people because that's my limit, and that's how much time I have. So I knew that there had to be a way to do it at scale. The thing is that doing it at scale in trail running is really different than doing it at scale in road running. Road running, you have three variables: time, distance, I guess, experience. And in trail running, you have so many variables like elevation gain, type of terrain, weather. Well, you also have weather in road running, but we have many more variables and the distance is a constant variable, right? It's not like a set distance basically ever. So it's a harder problem to solve. But yeah, we just give it a try, and we have been able to live from it for the last, like, I guess 6, 7 years. So
Did you raise money at the start, or did you intend to be bootstrapped?
yeah, kind of a mix. So the story is it's pretty cool. In 2019, we created an email list, a WordPress landing page, and a MailChimp, like, I guess, series of emails campaigns. And then you will sign up through this landing page for free. And we will ask you a few questions. And then you will land into a specific campaign. And we will send you a weekly email with your training plan. And that was free. And it was in Spanish in the beginning. And once we got to like 7 or 8 thousand people using that service on a weekly basis and opening their training plan and the whole thing, we saw that there was like an interest and demand, a very good open rate. So we raised like 100K from friends at the time, people that we will coach. And that's when we created the company. And then we created the company, and then we work on a web-based platform that basically we just bring the plans a little bit more dynamic, not really so smart, but more dynamic. And it will have the possibility to have a coach at the other end that will be adjusting the plan. And we launched that in 2020. Horrible timing.
Horrible timing or great timing?
Horrible timing.
Well, I guess 6 months later would have been great timing, right?
No, actually. So COVID was really hard for Vert because people was really active, but people pay for a training plan when they have a goal,
For a race.
when they have a
Got
when
it.
they have a race. At least in trail running. So trail running is a sport with a lot of money and a lot of high expenses, but very conscious customers. The trail runner is not a customer that will just splurge in money and just like have a million subscriptions. It's actually a very conscious one. Races were canceled 2020 and maybe 2021. So we were like kind of taking off, and the subscription slowed down, and people just like they were not signing up for races. So they didn't needed a training plan per se.
So this is a great place to plug the sponsor of this podcast, which is Rocket Money. If you have too many subscriptions like Moy is talking about, you should check out Rocket Money because it helps you evaluate what you do and don't need. Jokes aside, they actually are a sponsor of this podcast, rocketmoney.com/go run. And go run and find the subscriptions you don't need. But seriously, to Moy's point, I do think that, right, there are so many brands in 2020 that really capitalized on the ability to run, people's ability to run, and the fact that they had more time to do it. And then others that were at the mercy of like, well, if I'm not signing up for a race, I should cancel XYZ. And I don't need this until the races are back. How did you guys troubleshoot that period of time, and what enabled you to stay alive during that really pivotal and like wildly unpredictable moment?
Well, we have been on so many crazy times. So during COVID, we just stayed very lean. The team was very small, and we had a lot of people like using the app, like a lot of, because we also had free plans at the time. So a lot of people was using the free plans and having a blast. We just had a big problem converting them into paid customers. I guess in 2020, end of 2021 and 2022, things started to reactivate a little bit, and we stay alive, like just kind of like with the money that we had raised, which was like 100K or something. Yeah, 100K. And then in 2022, I want to say in 2022, we released a native version of our app. So we went mobile. It was kind of scrappy, but like useful. A little bit later, we became the coaching partner of UTMB. No, actually, no. Before that, we did a business accelerator in Silicon Valley. It was remote, but a pretty good one actually. And we learned a ton. We made a bunch of connections, and that's when we raised a little bit of like seed capital. So like a few 100K that would allow us to improve the app and then do a couple of bigger actions like becoming the UTMB World Series partner, and then just learning from that experience. Like we were official coaching for like 12 races, and that was great. So we did that 23 and 24. So we made that investment and like tracked the growth, and the returns were very good. And then yeah, just trying to reinvent ourselves constantly. At some point, I will say maybe what this was 2021 or 2022. Like there was like this like banking crisis where like Silicon Valley Bank went under, and we were banking on Silicon Valley Bank, and we were like, oh my gosh, we
Like
don't
money
have any
disappears.
cash.
Yeah.
And we're like, so like a bunch of challenges like that. But that's just entrepreneurship, like the only thing that is true or real or constant is like the amount of stuff that can go wrong at the same time is crazy. So you just gotta be resilient and just honestly stay afloat. And that's what we have been doing. Every year there's a couple of challenges. And then 2025 really marked like a big, big change for us because we took a big leap on innovation, redid all of the architecture, the whole app, improving integrations with different wearables so you can import and export workouts, and started to develop on AI. And that's where we are now. We continue to innovate on that front, and that has been also like pretty rewarding and pretty cool.
I want to poke further on the free to paid conversion piece. A lot of businesses find a false trap of, yeah, we just need people. We just need emails. We just need people using the platform. And then because it's great, we will convert them to paid. That wasn't your experience. It sounds like you had a hard time converting free to paid, which is what my experience has been constantly. If somebody gets something for free, it's really hard to convince them of the value of it down the road. What did you learn in that process and in that evaluation of, well, should we continue to do this? Why did we do this? Like, what's the best mousetrap for acquiring customers?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think it's strongly related to the nature of your business and how you make money. We are subscription based. So for us, converting you into a paying customer means that you are gonna become somebody that every month is gonna pay in order to continue using the premium service of our app. Most of the people that use a free plan is like very unlikely to convert to a paid one normally. And I'm not saying numbers because I don't want to get married to a number, because it's change as your app evolves and as your service also evolves. But normally the person that's gonna pay, like that warm lead that's gonna pay, kind of does it right away. Maybe not in the first day, but like within the first week is converting to a paid. And that's because that person is understanding the value and getting the right triggers in order to engage with the app enough to put down their car and become a customer. So I think that's where the secret sauce lays. It's like how you take somebody that is curious and interested and make them a paid customer, but like you gotta do it kind of quick. And that's also like some of the things that Strava has had issues with, like 150 million people, or I don't know how many, has used the app. Those who use it for free will normally continue using it for free. Then they build these different walls to like convert you, like the leaderboards and that sort of things.
Yeah, my understanding with Strava is it's like 2 to 5% paid and the rest
Yeah.
is free. We have a Strava original team member who listens to the pod and reads the Substack. So hopefully he'll fact check us and we'll be right. Yeah, it's an interesting point, right? If you experience something that's free and you continue using it, there's not really much upside to convert to paid. Whereas the trap is thinking that you can kind of gatekeep certain features, which is what Strava does. And sometimes it works and sometimes not. To your point, there are a handful of apps that come to mind that do a really good job in the conversion process. And some of it is the discounting of the paid service. So the Weather Channel is an app that I pay for, but I downloaded it for free and I thought I got a pretty good experience from the free app, but it teased a bunch of the premium features and then hit me with a, 40% off for the year if you sign
Mm.
up right now. And I was like,
Yeah.
you're okay, I'm sold. So I converted and I emailed their team. I had a friend that worked at the Weather Channel. I was like, hey, Sarah, like this is a fantastic upgrade flow. Like kudos to
Mm.
your team for putting something like this together, but it's really hard to nail that journey.
Yes, and so I think the Strava thing about like their conversion, I think also like when they decided to like go full into converting and they did certain actions and they continue to do that by adding value to subscription through acquisitions. I think that's probably like a huge lift. And this is 2 to 5% probably come after that. I don't think that was the case before. But if you have deep pockets, I mean, if you have cash, which is not our case, we're like very lean, very small. But if you have cash, you can play that card a little more and like try to acquire hundreds of thousands of people and then see, have very good and clear conversion methods within the app. But the thing about pricing is like, so like up to last year, we were very limited on how cheap, quote unquote, we can, or how big of an offer we could give people, because for every customer, we had a coach on the back office, checking your plan and making adjustments. Very manual, very hard to scale. We knew that, and the goal was never to maintain that forever. But then when we released this new product in May of last year called Vert Pro, which is a fully automated coaching service for trail running, it's totally AI based. It's very intelligent. It's pretty good actually. We were able to do a couple of cool things. So we changed our pricing, or we like divided our pricing. Before we had one product, which was $25 a month and you get your coach, which is kind of sick. But the coaching was very limited. So when we released Vert Pro, coaching became more of like a expert tier, and it's $45 a month, and you have an onboarding call and you have more attention from the real human coach. And then Vert Pro is 19 a month, and it's like fully automated. You have a AI coach that is also chatting with you on the app. But we did something where, like, since it's not costing us so much, like because we don't have to pay a coach for each subscriber to Vert Pro, the yearly plan is like $9.90 a month. So it's like 119 a year. So it's like half of the monthly plan. And that's crazy because when we did that, we went from a 3 to 5% segment of people that will choose a yearly plan to a 50%. So half of the people that subscribe now buys a yearly plan just because the offer is so attractive.
That's awesome. And then from obviously a cash flow perspective, that's way more favorable to realize revenue now versus waiting for it and
Yeah.
having them potentially cancel.
Yeah, and then the customer lifetime value, it's a pretty good one. You have a $119 customer lifetime value for a year, which is the equivalent of retaining somebody for like around 6 months, which is the average of how much people pay for a training plan on a yearly basis, and then they come back the next year. But here you're looking that upfront, and the relation of like lifetime value to CAC, which is the customer acquisition cost, is like pretty healthy. That was an action that for us was like, oh, this is super interesting, because now that we can play with pricing, we can also see the effect on it. And then the goal is like, you retain these people, and then you like try to have them for the second year and the third year. And that's what we're going to start seeing now.
Does it make sense for you to explore additional paths to revenue, or is the subscription path the only path that you need? Like, does it make sense to consider affiliate programs with nutrition and shoe brands? Does it make sense to bundle in other offerings? Like, what does the revenue model look like?
That's a great question. And you asked me earlier, how did you guys survive COVID and all the challenges? And I forgot to say that I think the main thing that have allowed us to continue to be alive is focus. So in that sense, focus is a very powerful skill, and I think that we're really good at it. So we had explored ideas and even run some tests about affiliated programs to recommend products, because at the end of the day, the athlete really, really trust their coach.
Right.
And we are your coach. So, and since we have this human tier where like you are talking to somebody, we get to see, we have all the chat history and we get to see what's people asking. And the first question is like, hey, like, I'm doing my first 50K. What should I do? And then it's like, I did it. What should be my next race? Help me, find a race. And then, okay, let's talk shoes, let's talk poles, let's talk backpack, let's talk nutrition, let's talk all of those questions. And the coach is providing consistently, gear suggestions, choose suggestions. And we have many thousands of interactions like that on a daily basis where we're like consistently just recommending product. We have thought about monetizing that, but we gotta maintain the credibility and we gotta maintain the honesty of the service that we're providing. If we're gonna recommend you a pair of shoe, it have to be the right shoe for you and your race, because then you kind of get biased. Now that can be achievable of like, if we're gonna recommend you nutrition, yeah, we partner with the Fit and they have everything. So there is an option there. Or for shoes, we partner with Fit and then like or Aria and we recommend you shoe that is on their list of products. So those are options that we have thought about, but right now we're just very focused on really providing a very good service for those who pay for coaching.
Yeah, the focus is, I think, a challenge that a lot of brands and companies have, where you have this shiny object syndrome, where you're like, yeah, this is the way, that is the way, this is the way, this is the greatest thing, and it's something that I'm working on personally. Like, the more you can say no, the better the yeses end up being. And so for me, it's really challenging to say no to things because I think everything is a wonderful opportunity, but that's not a way to go deep on certain things and add quality or depth to a brand or a product or service.
Yeah. And there are many opportunities out there and many things that we could like try and test and explore. But yeah, the truth is that you can't do it all. Our team is very small, and there is so much in training that we have to continue to innovate on. So like the product is still young, is improving. We are about to do like some very cool release in the next 3 weeks. So we're gonna be doing like basically a weekly release with like something new, which is super exciting. But then if you start just like trying to do too much, so to grab a couple of extra bucks, you're gonna dilute yourself and dilute the energy and dilute the team, and then yeah, I think it's like too much of a risk.
Are you doing anything with the data? Like, is the data itself as an asset useful and interesting?
Yeah, for us is imagine since 2019 we have coached like probably 170,000 trail runners.
Wow.
So we have a lot of data, a lot of chat history data, like that we get to analyze a bunch, and that's what we use to train our AI coach. Like real coach athlete
Right.
interactions we collected through all of those years. And right now it's like actually super easy to just grab
Scan all of
everything,
it. Yeah.
process it, train an agent on it, and then like run some tests, and then like like adjust some things, and then you have a very cool end product. Same with all type of adjustments that people do in their plans, like, because you can swap workouts, you can add easy weeks, and so we see how that impacts people's training. The finish rate results of people that trains with Vert is above 90%. So like more than 90% of people that train with Vert finish their race. So there is also something cool about the training system works, and we have found some hacks to make it work. Like workouts are time based, not distance based, and that sort of things. So they are adaptable to many different type of athletes. So yeah, we do a lot with the data. We don't sell, we don't do anything external with the data that we have. And right now we're using it a bunch to train or, like automated coaching service.
There's a lot of online chatter about AI coaching services like Runna and others that the commentary is that it's not custom, it's not good, etc. How does a brand like that, which is now owned by Strava, and the capital that they have behind them to sponsor all sorts of athletes and podcasts and whatnot, how does that influence or impact Vert? And how do you differentiate from potentially a lesser quality offering, if it is in fact a lesser quality offering? I'm not implying that. I'm just saying, how do you differentiate?
I think the strength of an app like Runna, which is a coaching app for marathons or road running, is their community. I think they had the capacity of developing a very strong and very good global community all over the US and the UK. And that's certainly their strength. Runna Kopha, and now there is Kotcha, which is with Kipchoge, technically. They are all training apps for marathons or road running that use the same engine. It's the same algorithm, which is actually is not bad. It just doesn't work for anything that is not a flat race because it's time based. And that's great because that's the biggest market. So like the community that Rona built is amazing, and that's certainly their strength. What makes us different is we're certainly experts in trail running and we're focused in trail running, and they are competitors in trail running. But by being focused on it, our product is like a really good quality product for trail running. So we have indicators for your training that like mountain index. Mountain index is how much vert or elevation you should be doing to be like fine tuning for your race. So if your race have a bunch of vert, we have this chart that is kind of guiding you and telling you how much vert you should be doing on a weekly basis. So you get the stimulus that you need. So when race day come, you are not like, oh my gosh, I haven't done any vert and this race is like so steep, So we like have trail running focus indicators like that. We really focus on strength training and cross training, and it's like trail running first. So that is a big differentiator. Our engine or algorithms, the current version is decent, is good. The one that we're working on right now that is going to be released within the next 6 weeks is a much complex and smarter algorithm. So right now in Vert, when you sign up, also okay, before when you sign up, we assign you a plan. Right now, when you sign up, we adapt a plan to you automatically, and that plan is adapted from a plan that already exists. And this new algorithm, which will be the V3, we're going to create the plan for you during the onboarding. So we are during the onboarding, we're reading all of your, if you integrate, like we're going to read your Strava or Garmin or wearable you have, we are going to read your race history data. Like we're going to understand like what races have you done and all of that. And we're going to we're crafting a plan for you on the go. And then that plan is like being adjusted on real time based on your inputs and like how much you're achieving. So it's like a much smarter algorithm. It's complex, but we're simplifying it a bunch. And that's also a big differentiator because basically our library is like many thousands of workouts for all conditions. So if you live in London and you're training for UTMB, you're going to have a totally different plan
Right.
than if you live in Boulder or if you live in Chamonix. And so that's something that we really tap into because the big part of the people of the community that train for ultras, they actually live in cities and they actually tend to live in flat cities or they don't have day-to-day access to trail like you and me. So that is a big differentiator, and that's something that we really bank and like we're working on improving.
How does something like that factor into the growth of trail? I've had conversations with people who point out that, like we were talking about the gravel shoe phenomenon, and I was talking with Des Linden about this, who knows a thing or two about living in the Midwest and has a pulse on the running community. And her comment was basically like, most people are not like you in Boulder with access to a trail within 10 minutes of running or driving. And the fact that these companies are releasing gravel shoes, the majority of Americans have access to a gravel or dirt road versus a trail. So like, how does the ability to properly train is this something you've thought about? The ability to properly train for a trail race impact the ability for trail racing as an industry to continue to move forward?
Yeah. So this is how I see it. I don't think that trail running, it is necessarily a sport that you need to practice on a daily basis, but it's more of a lifestyle, meaning that if you live in the middle of New York or Chicago or I don't know, Copenhagen, you are a trail runner because you identify it as one and because you have signed up for a couple of trail running races or you want to do this trail running trip. But doesn't mean that you practice trail running on a daily basis. You are probably a runner, quote unquote, 90% of the time, but you identify it as such running. That's your lifestyle. Like when you are when you are consuming content, you are listening to podcasts about running, you are watching videos about running, even though maybe 90% of your miles are on the roads. So I think that is something key to have in mind. And also that is the segment that is growing the fastest and that's growing the most. Like, I mean, if we really look into what market is growing fastest is Asia, right? In trail running. And a lot of that people is training on stairs, gyms, or roads. And we know that because we coach a bunch of people from that region. So it's more about the lifestyle and the aspiration. And then you are aspiring to do this race, this goal, explore this trail, do this loop than about like what are you doing on a daily basis, because the smallest segment is the one who get to go to the trails on a daily basis. And that doesn't mean that you're more or less of a trail running. You're actually equally a trail runner. The important part is like how you identify yourself.
Love it. I think the last question, maybe the last question I'm curious to hear your thoughts on is going back to how you mentioned you raised about 100K initially and then a couple $100,000 more. Do you have intention of raising more? Is this a profitable lifestyle business at this point that's paying your bills? And I ask this because there's such a over excitement of fundraising, and like raising a lot of money doesn't mean you have a successful company. I think having a profitable company means you have a successful company, or a company that's able to stay alive means you have a successful company. If you're doing something that people want and they keep paying for it, that means you have a successful company. So I'm curious your thoughts on that, and how you think about the durability of the company going forward.
That's a great question. We have raised, yeah, like I will say 3 times. And the last fundraise was very interesting because we did kind of like an internal crowdfunding with our customer base. Super exciting and super successful. Like just people was like, hey, like I love the product. I've been using it for years. I'm so happy to now be part of and be like a small shareholder of it. So that was like a very good surprise. It was an experiment and it was pretty cool. Vert right now is like breaking even, which is sick. We're not like swimming in cash by any means. And like, how are we able to stay alive? A lot of our team is like our dev team is in Latin America. So that is much less expensive than having a dev team in the US. I speak Spanish. I'm from Latin America. So it's easy for us to do that. Then we have also a good part of the team in Europe. So that reduced cost. And in terms of fundraising, it's not that we're close to that, but we're not building a growth machine in order to just like be racing
Grow
and
for
then
the sake
continue
of
to.
growing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I would love to have 1 million paying customers, right?
Yep.
But we're not there yet. But I think that there is a lot of space to grow within the trail running community, and there is a lot of possibilities to acquire hundreds of thousands of people that are paying for a coaching for a trail running race on a yearly basis. That is certain. I know the numbers, and that is something that we're working towards. We may need some extra cash, but we want to hit a couple of milestones, releasing these new algorithms and continue to see the growth path that we're seeing right now as a validation to potentially do some fundraising, but only if it feels right and only if it makes sense. We don't want to necessarily sell or soul. And I think that like it's not just fundraising. I think that a good path of growth for us is brand partnerships more than just cash for the sake of cash. And that can go a longer way. And what I mean by that is I think that they're partnering with, a leading brand in the trail running or the running industry, like a Hoka or an On, that our brands are innovating. That can go a very long way on how we can expose products, but also continue to, grow like develop strong communities. And I know that I said earlier, we don't want to lose this being objective as a coach, but I think that you can balance those things in the sense of like we can continue to be objective, but we can also partner with a brand that is innovative and pushing the sport forward.
Yeah, the brand partnership piece, when done right, is one of the best ways to lower the customer acquisition costs, right? So you're doing something that there's no monetary cost associated with it. It's human capital, but you're spending time and you can potentially bring on thousands of people at the same time instead of spending $30 a person to acquire a $120 a year person. And that math might work, but you need a lot of cash to make that math work. Where, a Hoka, the opportunity is like, hey, we want people to have fun trail running, come back and do more trail running and buy our shoes, right? So the feedback loop is strong where the use of your product enables more use of their product. And it's that symbiotic relationship that makes for a really strong brand partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you start tapping into like the habits of the athletes and their cycles and how they approach training and how they approach their calendar. Because that's all data that we have, right? Like we have all the calendars in our
Right.
platform. Like we know it's funny, we're starting to see people that sign up for Vert and they just add 2 years worth of racing. It's crazy. And we're like, oh my gosh, like we don't like our engine doesn't create a 2 years plan. So like that we have to do
Oh, 2 years
manually.
ahead.
Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, this is somebody like saying like, yeah, I'm gonna this 2026 I'm doing this, and 2027 I'm doing
Wow.
this, and this is my goal. My end goal is 100 miles UTMB 2027, for example.
Cool.
That's a classic. So we get to see all of this like journey, ambition, and the whole like habit development of like how these people approach training and how much like they're running, and so that is also pretty interesting for a brand partner, and there can be like many good outcomes from that. So yeah, like about growth and about like how we see the future, like we are breaking even, which is pretty cool. We are growing, which is pretty cool, and we are like innovating a bunch, and we're really focused into running, and we are thinking on ways to continue to expand into the market.
Last question, I promise. What does success mean to you?
I think that we have been very successful in the sense of I'm able to work hard and train hard and travel and race and have a family. And it's very stressful sometimes when it's really challenging, but it's also very rewarding when you come out the other side and you're like, oh, we survived this one. And that has happened a bunch. I think that like right now, that's a success. And we are able to pay, we're like 10 people full time. So we're able to pay, 10 full-time salaries, which is pretty cool. Some of us have kids, some of us doesn't. So I think we are at a stage of success right now. And maybe there is more success coming. Maybe more success can be, more subscribers, which is paying better salaries for the team and myself, scaling more and being a brand that is more recognizable. That can be also successful. But yeah, I think I'm not necessarily waiting for success. I'm trying to live success, or like trying to see success on the little things that we have been achieving.
Love it. I love that definition. Moises, it's been a blast. Appreciate your time. And yeah, we'll see you out there. Where can people find you if they want to follow along with your adventures or learn more about Vert?
Vert.run. So Vert.run that's the website. And then Moises Jimenez in Instagram. Normally Instagram is where I spend some time. And also you can find us in LinkedIn. So Moises Jimenez or Vert Run. We're all in LinkedIn, and happy to answer any questions.
And the Boulder Boys podcast every week.
But that's a given. Everybody knows. Everybody knows about the Boulder
Yeah.
Boys. Yes. You can also listen on a weekly basis. That's the goal. Sometimes a little hard to achieve, but that's the main goal.
And shout out to Audrey Jane's Pizza. That pizza is fantastic. So if you're in Boulder, check it out.
Yeah, we recorded remotely yesterday, so we didn't go to have pizza, but looking forward to next week already.
Awesome. Moi, appreciate it. We'll see you out there.
Yes, thank you, man. Appreciate it.